All right, cool. So I'll just jump in and kind of talk a little bit about Men's Collective and what we're building, and then kind of go around. Um, Everybody get a chance just to kind of talk a little bit about why they're doing it and why you're involved and our goals for it. But Men's Collective really was started um, because there's a group of us here that saw a need for a place for men to be able to go. And not just to talk about business or sales or investing, but also a place to go where other people are. They're going through a lot of the same life stuff that you may be going through. So, our goal with this is really to provide a place, a community where guys can come to and have an opportunity to learn through videos and courses and things in our learning center. But then also, if you have specific questions that maybe you need some advice on, your taxes, or you're looking at a specific investment, or you're looking at how do I market my company better. The goal is to really create a mentorship and menteeship opportunity for everybody that's in the community. And I think what's going to come out of that is the networking aspect, but also some some calls that we're going to be running on a monthly basis, weekly basis, that give guys an opportunity just to check in, learn new information, or maybe just connect with other guys that are kind of going through what they're going through. So, I think the long term vision, we can kind of get into some of that, but I'd love to kind of hear from just each one of you guys on, why you're involved, and we'll just start there. So, I guess Justin, you want to kick it off, and then we'll just kind of go around.
Yeah, I think what I'd like to say on this topic is just that a lot of people say, there's no shortcuts in life. You hear stuff like that a lot, and it's just the most untrue thing there is. There are shortcuts. There are strategic shortcuts, and it's usually a person or a connection that can help you with where you are, or they have the experience to save you time in your journey. So for me, that's what this is about, right? There are key people who came into my life, or I put myself in a room that allowed them to come into my life, that changed the complete course and trajectory of my life. And I got to become the person that I dreamed of being when I didn't see a path of becoming that person. So for me, that's what this group is. If you come into this, you're hungry, you're willing to listen, you don't want to argue with people who are ahead of you in the food chain, and you can actually listen and absorb it, you're gonna go wherever you want to go in life, right? So as you go through the phases of your development, there's going to be key groups, key people, and that's the environment that we want to create here, so that anybody can come in here with an open mind and become the person that they want to be.
Love it.
Yeah.
Jared, go ahead, jump in.
Yeah. It quite similar to what Justin said, but I remember being younger, and you'll hear me talk a lot about being 18, 19, 20 in college, and that was a really hard time for me at that time. And there was never the resources that we have today at our disposal. And I always kind of found that there wasn't enough people to talk to, and people didn't have time to really kind of mentor me and help me. And I always thought, as the years have gone on, something like what we're building gives younger people or people going through a hard time a much wider network of people to be able to connect with and to be able to light speed that process. I mean, it's taken me 20 years to get where I think I need to be, and each time I get to that point, I'm looking for the next thing. And now with the advancements in technology, knowledge and resources, and people putting their heart and soul into what they preach and where they've been, we can absorb all that and we can bring that into ourselves. And those 19, 18-year-old kids, they can be able to utilize that and be able to get a lot farther than someone like myself, which had a hard time doing that. And so for me, it's about maximizing, it's about 100xing the possibilities for these individuals. And it like Drew said too, it's sometimes men, we really don't have a platform, right? And what we want to do is create this platform to be able to share your opinions, share your voice, be able to listen, and be able to really grow. And so that's my driving force of being here, is just give people that next level a little quicker.
For sure.
Yep.
Elby, go ahead, man.
I think you guys alluded to a few things that really hit home for me. There's not another group like this. There is schooling that tells you not to go into entrepreneurship. When you're in entrepreneurship, there are collections of people that say, we all look this way. We're in the women's group. We're in this group. And I've never found one that fits who we are. Being a man is, in America today, it's a thankless job. Like, I got two kids at home. I drive to Kansas City. I sell ads 16 hours a day. And if I do everything right every single day, Sonny's still upset when I get home. You take mom out of there for 6 hours, and it's a Pontiac game-changing performance. I want to level the playing field for men to say, like, you know what? It's okay to say I need help. It's okay to say someone else is better than me at this. Even if you are the big dog in your local community, that's what's so cool about this collective impact group is, you might be the king of the castle in St. Louis, but there's somebody over in Las Vegas that knows a lot more than you. And everybody in this group wants to help each other and is here for the same reason. And so if you don't take advantage of that, that's kind of on you. No
Yeah.
more saying that this isn't available to you.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I think all of us on this call, um, I think we've all had kind of those personal conversations where we've all been through some tough stuff. You know what I mean? And I think I make jokes about it, but women are really good at this, right? Like like Albie alluded to, like they have their groups that they can go to and talk about, man, I'm really dealing with X, Y, and Z. And our goal is to really create, channels and courses and things that help people kind of level up and give them knowledge that we had. And as this thing grows, we're going to be bringing in other advisors that specialize in specific areas, that are going to run calls, that are going to, run channels, that are going to answer tax questions or business questions or whatever that may be. And so that's really the goal here. And one of the other things I think we all really agreed on too is the giving opponent of what we're doing. And I think that for us, we price the men's collective at $75 a month, which is a pretty nominal amount for the amount of value that somebody's going to be able to get out of this thing. And even so, we're going to take 33% of that and donate that twice a year. And so I think that's another aspect that all of us really are passionate about, is making sure that, yeah, we're going to create revenue with this collective, but our goal is to reinvest that, make the community better, but then on top of that, also make sure that we're giving back to people in in our community, give them the ability to give to people in their community too, right? And so when we named this, it was about bringing men together, but it was also about how big of an impact can we make, and you do that by bringing masses together, right? And so I just think that that's a huge component of like everything that we've all talked about, is like, how do we make a bigger impact? And we do that by creating larger community, creating as much value as we can for everybody that's involved, and then also giving back where we can, and making the most impact, So I just think that's a major part part of what we're doing that I think is really important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard. I was just thinking about this when Albie was talking, and it just came back to me. I've heard this a bunch of times, that most men live quiet lives of desperation.
Yeah.
And I think the reality is that all men live quiet lives of desperation. And just because you get to a certain level of success does not mean you're not feeling that exact thing. It just evolves into a different thing. So this could be that space where we don't live quiet lives of desperation. We get the community we're looking for, and we can really work through that, because for men, your family's relying on you, your employees are relying on you. There's so much relying on you. You don't get to be weak and vulnerable. It's just not allowed.
No.
And that's a tough thing. Your identity becomes wrapped up in being able to handle that. And that's living
That's so well said. That's so well said. People think you can handle it on the outside, but in reality, you're just calling Drew Roberts. Like, what do I do here, man?
Well, I think Jared and I had a conversation a little bit earlier too, but it's like a lot of times you're at different stages in your life, right? You're 18 to 30 and you got a big net of friends, you got a big net of people. It may not be the the circle that you should be in, right? But you have a lot of companionship, right? And then you get to that 30 to 40 and your circle starts to slim down a little bit, and now you just have different things going on in life. Then you get 40 plus, 45, 50, and now there's a whole new set, right? And so I think as you kind of go through different stages in life, a lot of those things that you guys said carry on, they just transform, right? And so how do we incorporate that? And that's what we're doing here. Like not just the business side, but more of like the everyday life. Like you're a new dad, or you just got married, or going through a divorce, or whatever it is that life happens, you wind up realizing I'm not alone, right? And I think all of us on this call have dealt with that aloneness feeling where you're just like, I'm the only one that's dealing with this in the whole world. Like my life is terrible. And then you realize, like, you hear somebody else's story and you're like, oh, like he's been through some shit too. Like that's cool. Like we can talk about that. You know what I mean? So,
You know what, Drew? It's funny because I was actually just going to mention the same thing we just talked about because it's so true, and like Justin said too, it's like you get to a point and that circle becomes smaller, and so that level of despair becomes that much greater because you're kind of thinking to yourself, man, now there's less people like me, and I must be the only one. And I always found myself when I feel like that, or I felt like that in the past, hearing someone else's story and realizing that you are not alone in what you're going through and seeing, misery, not in a negative sense, but misery loves company a little bit. But I think really you can flip that, seeing someone that in the misery they've gone through can inspire you and to give you hope that you can come out on the other side and flourish. And that's what we want to do. We want to transform that negative mindset and realize that those stepping stones that seem so harsh are actually just a building block. You think it's a step behind, but it's still going forward. And that's exactly what we want to accomplish here. So,
And to Jared's point
yeah.
there. Oh, go ahead, Justin. Were you going to say something?
I just want real quick twist of words. Misery can be healed with company.
There you go. That's a good tagline right there.
Yeah, we should use that tagline. That's good.
I think
that now.
every person that comes into this organization is going to be at one of those inflection points, right?
Yeah.
They're going to be a 35-year-old who's worked 15 years in the corporate world and they finally got hit with one of those layoffs and now they're like, oh shit. Or they're going to be, I did 4 businesses. Now all of a sudden I have an investor and I have a real business. Oh my God. Or they're going to be, man, this was the toughest year I've ever had and my employees are depending on me. But they're always going to be at a point where they are seeking us out because of that inflection point. And there's not really a lot of other places where they can raise their hand and say, I want to be vulnerable, even though I'm a badass dude.
Yeah.
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 I think.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, this is a really interesting time in history too. I mean, we have some incredible advancements in technology that, AI is going to self-automate a lot of professions that people have thought they'd be doing their entire lives. And there is going to be a moment with whether it be HR departments or graphic design or whatever, that they might get a slip from corporate saying they don't have a job anymore. And how long does it take someone to get out of that misery cycle? I mean, that's a real problem that's going to be happening pretty rapidly in the next 2 to 3 years. And you see a lot of people moving into not entrepreneurship. They want the freedom of entrepreneurship, comes with less freedom.
The freedom. That's
As we
funny.
all know.
That's the whole episode.
But that's the great thing about entrepreneurship is it empowers you. It makes you resourceful. So instead of getting, going to college for 4 years, working the same job for 25 years, you're laid off and you're sitting and you're wallowing, coming to us and showing you the way and showing you the light of there's a possibility for you here. You have a skill set. You have a dream. Make it happen. Don't sit there. Move. Momentum kills all negativity. You just have to move in a good direction. Don't sit on your couch for 6 to 9 months watching Netflix 10 times over. Move in the positive direction and realize that your life doesn't stop at that 25-year corporate job. You move. You just keep going.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things too is I think initially the community is, I would say, I think we're going to attract more of that 18 to 30 range, right? But the cool part is, I had to talk with my dad this weekend and I was telling him what we were doing and he was pumped about it. And it was just like what I realized too is like, and that's some of the other conversations Jared and I had is like, this is going to be a phenomenal opportunity for also those men that are, maybe they're empty nesters or maybe they're, they
already
just
sold the
retired.
restaurant. Now what?
Yeah. They're like, hey, what's my next move? Right. And so I think that's the beautiful thing about what we're creating is it's a little malleable, but I think we're going to give men the opportunity, no matter at what stage of life they are, is like, hey, you're a dude that's been super successful in business and you retired and, you want to run a call once a month on, all the stuff you learned, like, great. This is a platform for that to happen. And so I think for me, that's the most exciting part about what we're doing is because we're going to be able to pull in so many different people at so many different stages of life and realize like, hey, somebody's either been there before or we're going through it at the same time. And we can help people kind of level up in that way,
You're not going to get this collection of killers that exist in an environment where they're not competing with each other. And so that's a very, very unique way that this thing's going to, I guess you could say, grow.
It's value driven. Like that's the one thing all of us have, like when we got into this is like, we understand that the more value we can give back to people, like that stuff comes back tenfold. Like you lead with value. Like there's no need to market yourself in this community because if you're leading with value and you're responding to people in channels or you raise your hand and say, hey, I want to put together a course for people and offer it for free. Like there's an opportunity for everybody here to add value. And in turn, you'll find that the right people are going to come to you that you're looking for. You know what I mean? And so by creating that environment, it really gives people the opportunity to not have to be like, hey, I'm Joe Schmo, whoever I am. Like you can just be you and try and figure out how to add value to a conversation on a call, in a channel, in a course, whatever it is. And the opportunities come back to you, Cool. You guys ready to wrap up here? Is that what we're doing?
I think that makes sense. I think that's a great first cut, boss man.
Fuck. Now I'm gonna have to edit this. We didn't have a good cutoff. I just was like, oh shit, conversation.
Small
like,
business